Donald Trump has been caught in a shocking election power grab. This is one of the most blockbuster stories of the weekend. It barely got any attention. This is a perfect example of a massive piece of news. Trump has now fired the bipartisan commissioners whose job it is to help America's elections run smoothly and securely. If you've ever wondered how millions of people come to believe things that aren't true, this is a story that really helps explain it, and it is barely getting any attention. Most Americans have never heard of the Election Assistance Commission. I argue that that's a sign that it has generally done its job. It's a small agency. It was created after the 2000 election to help states improve election administration. It is very boring sounding stuff. We will develop standards for voting systems. We will distribute funding. We'll provide resources for local election officials. And Congress deliberately structured it to kind of be boring. It's structured with an even split between Republicans and Democrats because the idea is public confidence in elections depends on both parties having a seat at the table. And according to reporting from ProPublica, Donald Trump has fired the commission's 2 Democratic members while the remaining Republican commissioner was allowed to resign, leaving the agency empty just before the midterm elections. Now, if you ignore all the context, a president replacing officials might not attract a lot of attention. Presidents appoint people, administrations change personnel, no big deal. Who cares? But there's another question that I think is worth asking before we reinstate the context. If election fraud was truly the biggest concern for Trump, why would he weaken one of the bipartisan agencies that's dedicated to helping states run secure elections? Why would you reduce oversight instead of expanding it if you believe that we need oversight over our election systems? Why would you take a commission and hollow it out if what you want to do is improve how we do elections? Now, I don't even think those questions deserve answers. We've heard for years that election integrity is one of the most urgent priorities in this country. And we've seen Trump's years-long campaign against confidence, which makes this a big deal. Trump has said, you can't trust these elections. They're rigged. The voting machines are suspect. There's widespread fraud. If a Democrat wins, we should be suspicious and it needs to be audited or investigated. Those claims, of course, collapsed in court. When they were investigated, they fell apart. There was no credible evidence. None of that stopped the message from spreading, though. And repeating stuff is a really powerful force. If you hear the same thing over and over, the fact that you're familiar with it starts to supplant the fact that there's no evidence whatsoever. And a story starts to feel like it's true because we hear it time and time again. So when we look at the pattern here, this goes way beyond politics. This is one of the reasons that misinformation is so effective. Rarely do people wake up and say, I think today I will reject reality. The way it works is over months or years, they absorb these narratives because they're repeated over and over again. They hear from supposedly trusted voices and experts and their social reinforcement. And you see everybody on your Facebook publishing that the elections are rigged and rigged and rigged. And this is a topic I deal with significantly in my new book, Pay Attention. There's this theme about how thoughtful people, these are not dumb people, these are not people who don't care, thoughtful, smart people end up sincerely believing claims that do not withstand scrutiny. And I explore why that happens in the book, how our brains process information, how can we better separate something that I'm hearing many times from something that I actually have evidence for. Now, if that sounds interesting, and I think it's one of the most important issues in our politics today, please do pre-order a copy of the book. The pre-orders really make a difference. Barnes & Noble will decide how many copies do we buy. You can get a limited number of signed copies at davidpakman.com/attention. And remember that no matter what type of copy you pre-order, you can get this specific copy that's on my shelf if you submit your receipt to info@davidpakman.com. Now back to the commissioners who were fired. The commissioners who were fired can eventually be replaced, but that's not really what this is about at this point in time. The circumstances Americans have been pounded with over the last 6 years are that the 2020 election results were bogus Any election that Democrats win, you should be suspicious of. It was rigged. It's all rigged, and it's all rigged against MAGA, and we need more oversight. Cool. Well, we had a commission that was set up to do that. And what did Donald Trump do? He went in and he fired the two remaining Democrats and allowed the Republican to resign. Forget about every other aspect of this. If you believe we need more oversight into elections, you don't gut the agency that is providing resources to do oversight over elections. That's the bottom line. This is a huge story, and it is just not getting the attention that it deserves. I don't have a cat myself, but I have spent enough time around friends' cats to know that there are picky cats when it comes to food. If they don't like it, they won't eat it. But one of my friends has had a ton of success switching to Smalls cat food. Before Smalls, mealtime was very hit or miss. The cat gets excited now. Our sponsor, Smalls, is fresh, human-grade cat food made with real ingredients, no fillers or artificial stuff, high protein, gently cooked, promotes digestion, delivered right to your door. My friend did a side-by-side with the old food and Smalls. The cat went for Smalls. Your cat deserves more than a bowl of processed shortcuts. Try Smalls. If your cat doesn't love Smalls, you get a full refund for a limited time. My audience gets 60% off your first order, plus free shipping and free treats for life when you go to smalls.com/Pakman. The link is in the description.